Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
You have one on your lap.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2.5 in bed at my end. Oh dear. So after our episode last week about highs and lows, let's carry on with highs and lows.
Yes.
Do you want to start?
Sure. Let's see. My high is we celebrated our wedding anniversary this weekend. So Bobby and I got a weekend alone, and we were very bougie and went out to the East End. We call it the North Fork because Long Island, it looks like a fish and it has two tails. The tail splits at the end of the island, I guess, and they're the bougie side of the island, in my opinion. So, it was just very nice. My in-laws took Declan, and they had a whole fun sleepover weekend with his cousin, and we had to be alone for 36 hours. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Had a really good time celebrating us, so it was just very nice to do that.
Amazing.
My low, unfortunately, is when we came back home, Declan got a little sick and has been not feeling great, and it just has been like it's just uncomfortable to feel this need and want to be next to him, holding him, like making him feel good, and at the same time not wanting to, so I can go get my own sleep, and just the smells and all the things that you just don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
Just this weird contrast between the two tugging at me. And also knowing now that he's going to be staying home, and that's ruining everything that I had already set up for today. It's like, I don't want him to go to school. I want him to stay home because I want to nurture my child. I want to make him feel better and cuddle with him. That's all I'm going to do now. But also, like, I had a lot of shit to do today.
Oh, yes. Anyway. All out the window for just a minute, which happens. We know it happens.
It's just the real feelings behind that, and that sucks.
Yep, I get it.
Anyway, we'll get through it, and no unnecessary pressure. And obviously, we're going to need some self-care for this little guy today. So,
yeah.
But, highs and lows for you, Linda.
Oh, goodness. I think high for me, I had my eldest homesick today. He's got a cold after being stuck in the rain last week. The thing is, I got a call from his school at 9:45, 15 minutes before school started today. And it was a teacher at the school asking to talk to Josh because she needed some IT help. An IT problem that she had. That Josh had helped her with earlier in the year, and she was calling me to talk to him and ask, and then I listened to him give this beautiful, wonderful little remarks and alternatives and solutions and problem solving, and maybe try this, and if that doesn't work, try this. And he was just so beautiful. So it was so remarkable. I'm thinking maybe I need to ask her to do a reference or something for his resume. It was just a really proud moment. So that was definitely a high. The low for me, oh, goodness. Oh, we've had Lego, which has been put into like a trolley of drawers now. We haven't worried about trying to keep it sorted or anything like that. And today there was a disagreement or something happened, and Quinn pushed that Lego all over the room 3 times, and it was literally like carpet all over the biggest room in our house. And it was everywhere. And of course, he didn't want to clean it up. He didn't want anything to do with it. It was just chasing my tail with this Lego and tidying up, and just, it was a big thing for him, obviously, but such a mess. So anyway,
I can't imagine. I'm so glad I'm so glad. I'm appreciative that we are not a Lego family yet.
Yes.
And we've avoided all of that so far.
Well, we basically, they hardly play with any of the other toys. They just all play with Lego. So I can't imagine not being a Lego family.
Yeah. I imagine
at the same time, if you could imagine all of your toys gone.
Yeah, and I would love that.
But the alternative would be Lego. I found probably about 8 pieces in the washing machine over the last few days. Somehow, I don't know. I do flick things out when I do the washing, but these still manage to get in there. So, yes. Anyway. So, being that you have your little one with you at home and I have mine at home pretty much 24/7, it feels like. Today we're going to talk about self-care activities at home and what you can do within the 4 walls of your Lego house to keep yourself sane in the process. So what comes to mind for you to start with when you think about self-care at home?
I think the first thing right off that I'm thinking about as we're talking about this is like, this is how to start. Like, this is the best way to just figure it out. Starting out. And like, what can I do that doesn't take the effort of getting ready to leave the house, finding somewhere for my child to be watched, or taking advantage of possibly a child being at school. Okay, I'm already home. I don't have to go anywhere. So I think it's just like the best starting spot. And I think more about like all the things that we can do in our own home to get a little bit of self-care time.
Okay. Yeah, it is true. I think even though it's a good spot to start, it may be that it's sometimes harder to do it from home because you feel so much pressure to do the 6 loads of washing, pick up the Lego on the floor, attend to the child who needs you. Just so many other things that need to be done house-wise compared to self-care. And they may always seem more important, or always is a very big generalization, but often seem more important.
Yeah, we get that guilt that sets in, like, well, let's do these things before we can spend any time on us. But
the motivation to do it as well on your own. Times.
There's definitely both sides to that. It can be like a great place to start, but also it can be distracting us from getting a true fulfilling self-care moment. Yeah.
But Jill, you've got really good over the last year, especially, of doing self-care alongside Declan now, which you probably thought was much harder than it ended up being. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you're doing that now and how that's been working out for you and what that looks like right now.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the rest of this day will most likely be spent in bed with just the two of us cuddling in bed. Because that's what he's just asked for now, is to go into bed. So that will probably be the majority of today's self-care on a sick day. But yeah, most of our self-care stuff happens outside.
Yeah.
When him and I are together, Declan and I, and it's playing outside. It's just being outside. It's, I've talked about it multiple times, me picking up after the dog outside while Declan's doing something, us doing individual things while together. And it's just allowing, it's almost like we're doing a lot of intrusive thought work right now, like recognizing our intrusive thoughts. But if we're outside, it's kind of like, go ahead, discover your intrusive thoughts. Yeah, you want to turn the hose on and spray something. Are you having fun? Great. What is your next thought? Like, we're in a safe environment. Let's just go with what we're thinking. Not to say that needs to happen inside the house or other times. But like allowing him to just go ahead, do your imaginative play. But I'm right here also. You can include me or you cannot include me. I'm going to do something that works for me right now. And that's listening to you have a great time by yourself and getting my feet energized through the earth, being barefoot. What else do we do, Declan? It's just also being mindful of what I can accept at the time.
What you can accept,
as involvement with him. If we're going to be doing self-care things together and knowing, well, that's going to be a little bit harder for us to feel the joy of doing something together. Like, that's just not how today's going. We're going to do something different. That's going to maybe bring us a little bit of joy. Or, ooh, that is a great idea. That's going to bring us so much joy and fun. And it's going to be really rewarding for us. So being mindful of like bandwidth, Melty, what we're feeling and what all's going on around us.
Yeah. And following their lead, I think, is also sometimes very helpful. So we've been doing a bit of colouring in lately and drawing and things like that. And I've found that quite relaxing, just to be able to have that as a quieter activity compared to some of the more boisterous ones with 3 boys in the house and a very adventurous little girl. So some of those moments have also become a form of self-care as well. So, yeah, it's really important to take their lead a little bit as well.
Yes, it definitely is.
Yeah.
I know you are one to be taking nature walks as well and to be doing some things around home. But having 3 more children than I have, I can't imagine how doing self-care is with all of them around, if at all, at least only having the 2, because you have the 2 youngest at home most of the day.
Yep.
How has that changed over the years for you with practicing self-care at home as you have more kiddos involved with that?
Well, mapping out the day helps a lot, even if it all needs to get chucked out, that we know when someone's sick. There are more days when the day does take more of that mapped out version than not, and reminding myself of that helps a lot over the years. That's been a big factor of, you know what, now I actually need to be a bit more cautious of my time and planned with my time, whereas the previous version of me may not have been so planned and liked a lot more spontaneity. So I've had to accept and let that go a lot as well. I make sure that I get out on my own as well. So whether it's just going to get milk and bread on my own, that helps as well, being able to do that. I'm also realizing as the older two get older that there are times when I have to say, I need to go to bed now. You need to finish your chapter and go to bed, because the older they get, the later their bedtimes are becoming.
Yeah.
And I have always, and they enjoy it too, tucking them in at night. It's something I've always done, and it's something I want to keep doing. But again, like you were talking about in your highs, lows, like there's a push-pull there, because at the same time, do I want to wait until 10:30, 11 o'clock to go to bed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not always. Not always, actually. No, I don't. Especially if I'm getting up early to try and make the most of the better version of me with more energy or head space. So there's a lot of letting go just in that process alone.
Yeah.
But just in general, in order to make sure that you can do self-care at home. And that's tough sometimes.
Yeah. I'm glad we created we were challenged with the project of figuring out, like, what was it that we started with, like these simple things that we can do at home, or that we needed to figure out first, pretty much, like starting point when what can we do that's simple? Because sometimes at home we need the simple. And I think that's helped, at least here, kind of do different things and give us different ideas to work off of. Because it can be hard, like thinking of different things that might be a good self-care activity, I guess, to do at home. So sometimes we just need the creative ideas, and I'm glad that we were able to go through that to kind of decide, just for like myself, even to use when I'm in a pickle of like, what do we even have going on that we can fit in just for a break and get some energy back in us. And like you're saying, you do some coloring, and Declan might last 10 minutes for coloring, but it gets him distracted, and I can sit there and go a little bit longer. But there's just, music is one of our favorite things. So we'll actually go ahead and set up a whole band situation now. Declan pulls out his guitar and drums and microphone and puts on a show. And while that's not necessarily self-care for me, he's at least entertained by that, and I get to watch him, and that just makes me happy. So it's just a little bit of joy.
We'd actually set up a little post office today. He's got a little post office with a table where you have to get a staple in a sheet of paper, and he made stamps and envelopes and had a little postie hat and everything. So again, that gave me space to come in and listen to music or listen to a podcast, and he was so occupied with that. It was almost an all-day activity in the end.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's tricky though.
Yeah. If I can get Declan to cook dinner with me, dinner is where I listen to my music. And if it's a not hectic afternoon or evening, like in that space, like we don't have a mastermind after, or I don't have somewhere to run to, and we could take the time on letting him help, then it becomes very enjoyable, because I do enjoy cooking when there's no pressure before or after it. And when we add in the music, it just becomes that much more fun. When Declan's doing his own thing and helping out and enjoying it, that makes it even just more.
Oh, goodness. I tried to cook a quiche with the kids this afternoon, and it was just one of, usually they're really good. Like they cook 2-3 times a week. They're usually really good. This time they were not. The eggs went everywhere, and then Siggy saw the yolks in the bowl and was like, "Oh, balls!" and then tried to grab the yolks with the fingers. And then she got the eggshells and crushed them all up and put them all over the floor and then jumped on them. It was a complete disaster. And so I ended up running the tap. She played in the sink with the tap, which is always a go-to.
Yeah, same here.
And then Quinn helped me with the flour and the cheese and the milk and everything else, and we got the quiche made, and that was it. So I thought I was being smart making dinner at 2 p.m. because I had no, apparently not. And they were like, "This is not the time we make dinner. You're out of routine. What are you doing?" Oh.
I know. It's like we say that, cooking isn't necessarily self-care, but for some people it is, because it's a happy space for you. It brings you joy to cook. So I'm definitely one of those people that it has to be the right time, the right day, the right energy and mood, for sure.
Yeah. But look, there are times when it will be mucked up. There are times it will go well. There are times that it won't. There are times the home will feel like a sanctuary. There are times the home will feel like a chaotic wildfire that you're trying to just want to run away from. So just remember, it's not linear. It's not flatlined. I think that's what's one of the biggest things. And look, we could easily sit here and give you very manageable activities for home. However, we also want to have the real conversation about, hey, what does that actually look like, and what does that actually mean? And that's part of, I think, what we have grown to love in this space of recording every week as well. So thank you, Jill.
Yeah, thank you
so much. So,
glad we got to talk it out and have different viewpoints and see what kind of things we can cover and help out others. Because obviously, if we're not seeing the same, that means that listeners, you guys aren't seeing the same either. And so it's great having these different viewpoints. And for more ideas, for more conversation regarding self-care, reach out. Our email's in the show notes, and we do have our list of simple self-care things to do, whether or not they're in the home or outside the home. So we're happy to share that with you if you need ideas too.
Yeah, exactly. So until next week,
we hope you can unstuck your muck.
Bye.
Bye.